I pretty much just skipped that whole process of having a deal at that time. And that's how the Lyricist Lounge show was born.
So we're going to get to that in a moment. Take us back to meeting Q-Tip at the Lyricist Lounge and how that led to being on the Love Movement.
Yeah, so he hosted. So right then and there, we didn't know anything. He introduced us. We rocked the show. And days later, Danny and Ant, you know, called me and Punch to come down like, yo, we got a call from Q-Tip. He said, you know, he wants y'all to be on the album. So I'm like, what? You know, so it's like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? That's crazy. So we meet up with Tip. And then immediately it was more like just like getting right to work with it. Because even, you know, Jane Doe became a part of the whole situation. And that's when we went to go to the studio to do Rock Y'all. So he was immediate about like, you know, he wasn't playing around with no like, yeah, I'm thinking about all this and that. At the time, he had to deal with DreamWorks. So he already had a plan that we was going to be that team, kind of like at that time. Remember, a lot of people was trying to do the Wu thing and these groups, and you get your artists and you sign them. So that was going to be his squad. So it was going to be me, Jane Doe, Mos Def, Kweli, and I believe I ain't leave anybody out. And we were going to be that roster. And so we do Rock Y'all, and that's how that led to that.
Any interest at this time? You're on a major platform with the Tribe Called Quest. Any interest coming your way, or you and Punch as a group?
I mean, not really like that. It wasn't really like that at that time. I think a lot of people thought we were on Ruckus. We never were on Ruckus. A lot of people had that misconception. So we were rhyming on so many things that dealt with artists from those labels that people assumed that we had a deal either that way or something like that. So we never were on Ruckus, but people assume that to this day. I see people say like, yeah, you was on Ruckus around that time. I'm like, nah, I never was, but I could understand that. So around that time, it was just more so still every now and then going to track master sessions. So being in studio sessions, just observing the process, still trying to learn and absorb. I think, you know, being around track masters, we learned a lot, just kind of like learning how the records and things like that.
Best memory of that session of Rock Y'all?
Man, so we're there. We get to choose 2 beats. One of the beats is actually on the album. It's an interlude. And we rhymed on it too. And what's so wild is nobody's in the studio. I'm sitting there. I'm telling the engineer, yo, can you make me a copy of that? He said, yo, sure. I get the cassette. Tip come in and like, yo, we don't take cassettes out. So I'm like, oh man, you know, you know, yo, we don't really do that. And he was like, you can keep it, yo. And I was like, all right. So I have this song. I'm trying to find a cassette. I have a song that never was released. You know what I'm saying? That we all did on the beat that's on the interlude, I believe. And I believe it's a Dilla beat. So he played both of those beats, and we chose the Rock Y'all one. We did both songs, and that's the one that made it. So we're writing our rhymes. Tip is like, whoever messed up their verse, $100. So everybody go in. So on the record, I'm right before Tip, I believe as well. I go in and I mess up on my last line, man. Man, you know, Tip going right after, flawless and in and out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was kind of like a dope moment, you know, us just being in the studio and just kind of vibing to the beat and everybody writing their rhymes and stuff like that. And that was kind of maybe the most pressure I had for writing a verse. Because typically when I did the Black Star project, I wrote my rhyme at home and then I came to the studio. For that one, it was like, this is what we doing? All right, let's write our rhyme. I was like, oh. It's like, oh, all right. So we always gonna write this rhyme right here. All right. I like to think a lot. So just like I'm trying to, you know, you try to do quality control at the same time, write your rhyme, you know.
Right. Like you said, the same day Black Star's album came out, you were on Twice in a Lifetime. Take us back to how you landed on that album.
Yeah, it was just like they were recording an album and then they gave us the beat. You know, Kweli was the one I believe that was like, yo, we think about doing a remix to the original. So, yo, here's the beat. And we got the studio session coming up. So everybody wrote this stuff. Show up at the studio, and we all lay our rhymes. And then I think Most hadn't laid his rhyme yet, and Qua. I think maybe they both didn't, but me, Jane, Punch, or whatever the case, pretty much in the order what the record is. You know what I'm saying? But what's so ill too, that same day is when we first heard like Cannabis, Taj Mahal, like in the studio, and we like, oh, this kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of interesting too at that time. To like, there were so many like little moments in those sessions too that I remember, and that was one of those moments. Because at that time, that's when Cannabis was coming out. Then you got all of us being ill writers and stuff doing our thing. So we kind of wanted to hear the competition in a way at that time too, which was dope.
Right. Like I said, that was September of '98. Where does Wordsworth find itself before getting into the Lyricist Lounge MTV show?
All right. So before the show, I'm still just trying to make songs and figure out who I am as an artist. So what I started doing is around that time, as I started rhyming on more records, the whole backpack thing was like becoming a stigma. So what I started doing to help me kind of veer off from that and to kind of get this storyteller idea that people now see me as, and that's kind of what I'm known for more so now with the songwriting, was like I would do features, and if people start listening to those features from a lot of those back in the days, some people would come on rapping how dope they were, and immediately when my verse came in, I'd do a story. I would do story. Every feature I just started doing, like, I'm not gonna do any more bragging on the joints. So that way people could start noticing the storytelling skills and the songwriting skills from there. So that's what I started doing, and that helped kind of set the foundation for what I became.
Dope. So you said the idea was already brewing about the Lyricist Lounge. When did it come to fruition, and what were the early discussions like?
Man, so they get the call like of MTV is having pilot audition. So, you know, this is where the genius comes in of Jay, Danny, and Ant, because they had me because I was already part of that. Then they said we need somebody else like Power. So Power, he's already was into acting and stuff like that. So, and then he could rap and do stuff. So they got Power. And then they said we need Fool, because Fool is energetic and animated. So that cast of us three putting us together, we knew each other, but we didn't know each other like that yet. But we knew each other enough, respected each other's craft from being in all the the arenas and places. So we go to the office and we're like, what's the first thing we want to do? So we wound up doing a court skit, rapping a court skit and writing it together. And so the auditions to get the pilot was a Friday. We go up in the House of Blues in Cali, and from what I know, there's like a secret room compartment in there. Somebody told me. So we went in the secret room, and executives are there. Beat plays, we do the skit. We find out Monday we got a pilot. That's how fast it was. So it was crazy, man. But to pick the right three people, and then for the company to keep all three of us, that's a whole nother deal. Because a lot of these TV shows, they'll be like, like that person don't like that person and stuff like that. So the fact that they believed in keeping all of us and that we made it to TV was dope.
What were some of your best memories of your time on the Lyricist Lounge?
Man, a lot of people don't know that we wrote the rhymes for the rappers. So the rappers that came on there, we were writing their rhymes. So I got a couple moments with that. One of the illest moments is when Snoop came in and he's reading the rhyme and he walked in the room with us and he's like, yo, who wrote this? Yo, he was amped. Yo, this is crazy. He was like, this is incredible. And then he said, yo, I just want to change a couple of things. But he said, I got the Sega Dreamcast with the blue controller. He wanted to add the blue in there. And then we had a different pair of sneakers. He changed it to Chuck Taylor's. But other than that, that's it. Other than that, he was like, I'm not changing nothing. This is crazy right here. And we love the fact that artists were able to come on and embrace it, that it's a script, because you got people come on like, nah, that's, go with the hip hop rules or, what it is. And they was just like, yo, it's so fire, man. Just leave it. Slick Rick took like half and then he wrote half. MC Light wrote her own. She wrote her own. Who else? CeeLo. If CeeLo, when we did the joint for CeeLo, man, he was hyped. He was like, yo, this is the Roxanne verse cadence. He knew what it was, so we was hyped too. So, and then we also wrote the rhyme for Crazy Bone. So the double time rhyme. Now, if you know me and you know us, you probably be like, we didn't write it because boom bap, whatever you think. Nah, we was writing that. Like we could do all the styles. So it's ill to like, people that have watched it and seen it may be like not know that, but we actually was writing everybody's raps.
Very dope. The show lasted, I believe, a year. Was the show you thought ahead of its time, and what ultimately happened with the Lyricist Lounge?
Yeah, we had 2 seasons, man. 2 seasons, which was I was excited to have 2 because some people don't. Nowadays, you watch Netflix, you be like, yeah, that's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I realized how precious 2 seasons is. So 16 episodes. So it was dope, man. To have done 16 episodes and within that time frame, just kind of learning the nuances of what television was like right then, and learning how to write for TV, learning about directing and stuff like that. And it kind of leads to what I do now. For those, I don't know if you're gonna get into what I do now and stuff like that, but it kind of paid off because I paid attention so much. Luckily, that's just in my nature. Like, what's the director doing? What's this? How that work? Who's in wardrobe? How stylists work? Oh, word. Oh, we gotta wear that because they borrowed it from this company. So the company is looking to see it on the show because of the product placement. Like, it's so much to it that I was just absorbing, asking questions and stuff like that. And around that time, when that's going on, watching the show and everything like that, actually after the first season, I came back home and I was working in the World Trade Center. I was working in the World Trade Center at PageNet, putting together 2-way pages. That ways. So anybody that had a page, ain't no PageNet, I was setting up 2 ways back then. And then people was tripping because I would be at the job and the show was on. But I would always tell people like, yo, I don't play that game. I'm on some, like, I don't depend on money like that. Like, I'm not dependent on that. I'm going to work here because I don't know if that's going to get another season. Even though I have no pride, like, my pride is like, I'm going to do what I got to do. So I'm showing up, people watching the show, yo, that was a nice show episode. I'm still in there doing pages, you know what I'm saying? They're cool. So then that goes on, and then we get the call back, yo, it's picked up for a second season. So this is where it gets kind of topsy-turvy in a way. So first season, we had, from what I heard, it was like maybe like Don Cornelius' daughter or something like that directing, if I'm right. I may, pardon me if I'm wrong, but so she was directing and she was into hip-hop heavy. So if you messed up on your line, you had to redo it. Second season, we actually got the Tom Green was done, and they gave us Tom Green staff. New about hip hop. So now you got directors that don't care if you mess up on the line, don't care if you on beat. He think you on beat. You can say anything mess up. Yo, it's important that we do that. Why is it important? Questioning things that he has no idea about because he doesn't know nothing about the craft. So if you mess up on the line, he don't care. If we saying that because that rhyme connects to that line and that has to be on beat, don't care. So the whole Tom Green staff came in, and it was just right then. It was just kind of crazy because you got a staff of writers that don't care about the craft.
Right. That was such a large platform at the time. After the show, were there any opportunities for Wordsworth?
Nah, like after doing the show, I really just was like trying to like figure out life because you get to these certain points and you kind of think it's a forever thing. So being that young, I thought it was going to be always up like that. You know what I'm saying? And then at that time, after the show, we did a Lyricist Lounge tour. So then we did do an EP. Me and Punch did an EP, Mona Hip Hop, which actually is with JF at that time. JF, which did the project with me and him right now, Undivided Attention. JF at that time, had a label called Mona Hip Hop putting out records, and he had a relationship with Punch, and then that's how we got the first EP out. And started touring and going to Lyricist Lounge tour. Me and Punch was on a Lyricist Lounge tour and just like promoting before that project came out and stuff like that. So it was really just being on tour, trying to figure it out. But I'll be honest, like at that time, I had no business savvy. I'm the first of, and with a lot of things, So like, I was the first of, so a lot of stuff with me, I'm pretty much just the testing, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of stuff I had to learn, and fortunately, my drive to learn never gave up.
Right. I had an opportunity to talk to Aunt Marshall about some of those monumental Lyricist Lounge tours. Can you take us back to one of your favorite lineups that you were part of?
Most closed every night. So that was crazy, man. It was a tour at one point. It was Major Figures on a tour one time. I learned like Rasheed Wallace was their manager at one point, and then that whole Philly connection there. So it's cool to see how where Gilly is now. So just seeing like stuff like that is dope. Who else was on that tour? Man, it depended on the city. But it was just dope. Like all the time, like most would close out where my Umi says, man, we all was on the side of the stage with that song because we knew it was just such a big record, man, at the end of the show, man. So yeah, those were some of the dopest events. And we were doing like every house of blues in every city. So it was like packed venues and stuff like that. So those were some of the most memorable moments for me.
So I'm glad you touched on a little bit about JF. We're going to get into your project with him momentarily. 2004, you got with Half Tooth Records. How did that come about? And what was the train of thought going into your debut album?
All right. So a little bit before that, around that 2000, let me touch real quick on me, Ace, through the Mona Hip Hop label, because Ace is doing a record with Strick. Mona Hip Hop, Ace hears me and Punch, and that's how we get on Disposable Arts. So from 2000, Ace put out Disposable Arts. My first time going overseas was about a few weeks after 9/11. So we was real leery about this tour situation. We still go. Wound up being one of the best decisions we all came to agree on. It was dope. And then those 3 years, I toured with Ace pretty much for those 3 years overseas in Europe. So I got to give a big shout out to Ace for that. So he helped me sustain for those years until I dropped my album in 2004. And then after that, until I toured with Ace for like 15 years.
Wow.
Overseas in Europe. So that's what, so always, Ace is one of the main reasons why I'm still where I am, what I do too. So that covers those years in between before Mirror Music. But yes, Mirror Music drops in 2004, and I get a XL and double XL on it too, which was like huge for me right then. So yeah.
What was the creative process going into that album?
Don't have no battle records on there. That was my whole vibe. I had maybe two. It's a long album too, and it was based on the fact of I may never have this opportunity to put out another album. So I'm gonna put all the joints on there that I got that I think are dope. As opposed to they ain't making it. I was like, nah, whatever I write, I'm gonna put on there. And that was my thought process of just making it about something, rhyming about something. That was my whole process. Mirror Music, what does it reflect? So it has to reflect the world. So everything written on there. One of the biggest records on there is Be a Man. If anybody listens to Be a Man, and just listen to it, or just kind of if you get a chance to read the lyrics, I'm rapping about borrowing money from my niece to buy my mom birthday gifts and stuff, real stuff. I'm rapping about what it's like to be a man. It has one of my favorite movies ever, Claudine, sampled in there. So all that whole album, man, is just stories, but it's all just it's vivid, man. So that's what it was about.
How did you go about selecting your producers for that project? You had some heavy hitters on there. How was the beat selection process for this project?
Well, I try to keep like the home team of people that was actually helping me prior to that. So Dave Daw was on there. He did Where You Gonna Run Now, Run Now, Run. And then Belief. He did Fast Lane on there. Authentic, I believe, did something on there too. Had Seb on there. Then I had Ayatollah on there. I mean, I was Belief. If people don't know who Belief is, Belief actually co-wrote Sia's Chandelier. So like, these are people that are like, you know, they kept being on my album, but we've all had that potential, and they had mega potential, and they do a lot of major stuff today. So, yeah, it was really just keeping a lot of people that was there from day one, and then having some budget money, which helped to actually get an Ayatollah and some other people.
When that project dropped, how was it received by the masses?
Yeah, like I said, it took me out of the whole vibe of just a backpack battle rapper, and you know, it got an XL that day when that XL back then. You know how the ratings were, right? So right then and there, the ratings and the fact that the person that wrote the article about it being narrative, storytelling, and all that, that helped me pave my way for longevity. Right there, that album to this day is the album that most people like and love, and I'm proud of it because of just like the overall look of it too, the cover, everything. You know, like I try to make sure it look as professional that it will have that long standing time.
Right. At what point are the discussions with Masta Ace Strickland about forming EMC?
Like 2006, 2007.
Shortly after your debut album?
Yeah, because we're on tour now, because we've been on tour for about 6 years together, all of us. So the fans are seeing us coming out during a set, doing these songs that we have on this album together. And they're like, yo, y'all should be a group. So then we wind up becoming like, yo, let's do a group. So originally, the actual group name, if people don't know maybe this, it's actually was GMC. Because Ace had a GMC truck. And he's sitting there, he's like, yo, GMC. He just liked the way it sounded, but didn't know what the letters would be for at that time. Changed it to an EMC. And then from there, everybody's like, what does EMC stand for? And that's how you get that. So we get that, we got the beat from Nicolay, and we on tour, like, we had that beat on tour and just playing it. We were playing that beat at sound check, like, yo, this beat is crazy. Nicolay, this beat is crazy. And then Ace came with the concept of people ask EMC what it stands for, and that's how you get what it stands for.